Hello everyone, and this week's video is going to be an impression of Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection for the PlayStation 5. I picked this up last night as part of the upgrade for $10. I'll go over that in a little bit because I have quite a bit to say about that. But this is just going to be just an overview. I'm not going to do a full review. I've played through these games before when they were on the PlayStation 4. I'm just giving an impression of what they're like playing it now on the PlayStation 5, just what's different in this collection. So let's start with the basics. So it includes both Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. It's the campaign only, no multiplayer. So if you were a fan of the multiplayer, you're going to be disappointed. I found the multiplayer in the game, it was fun, but it wasn't anything that I personally would miss, but I imagine there's probably some people out there who will. So let's just go over the basics. So the big changes are it includes 3 different rendering modes, 4K 30, a performance mode that runs at 1440p 60, and then a performance plus mode that runs at 1080p 120 frames a second. Now, in the fidelity mode, the 4K 30, and performance mode, it's pretty much a nearly locked 60 FPS. I've watched the Digital Foundry video, which I'll include a link to if you want more in-depth analysis. I am not Digital Foundry. But they found that the game, pretty much in those 2 modes, runs pretty much locked at its frame rate. You know, it might dip a little bit, but it's so brief, and especially in the performance mode, that it's imperceptible almost. Now, the Performance Plus mode tends to vary a little bit, especially when you're playing The Lost Legacy, given the semi-open world nature of that game. So I can dip down, I heard, to the 90s. But by and large, again, it's pretty solid. So nothing to worry about. And there's been a few slight tweaks to the graphics, so the level of detail or LODs are pushed out. Some of the textures are a bit sharper. Also, the lighting looks a little different. It looks slightly darker. I don't know if it's just the way my TV is set up, but it just looks slightly darker. There's nothing wrong with it. It just looks a little different. Other than that, though, it's pretty much the same game. And that's kind of an issue I've had. This was sold as a, quote, remaster, and it's really not. It's basically, it's like they took the settings and just raised them. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't work that went into the game, but
we'll be out of there in no time.
But again, it doesn't quite meet the standard of what I think most people would call a remaster. Now, along with the graphical changes, you do get improved loading times. So the loading times are really quick. It's just a few seconds. It's just like it fades in, fades out, fades in. And, you know, it's probably about 3 seconds long. That's with the initial load. And if you decide to go back and replay sections of the game later, or replay battles, it's the same thing. It's just a couple seconds, which is a far cry from the, mid-30s, 40s for a load on playing the game on the PlayStation 4. So definitely much quicker, which is really nice. You also get the haptic feedback on the controllers, which feels really nice. Even in the menus, so if you're pushing up or down, you can actually feel the controller move while you're changing your options or going through the menus. It's really cool. Not a game changer, but it's a very nice little touch. And then, of course, you get 3D surround sound. So if you're using headphones like I do, you'll get that surround sound effect, or if you have your TV set up, and it works, it's really nice. So the big issue that I have with this game, and it has nothing to do with the game itself, is the business model. And that is you have to pay $10 to upgrade. So here's how it works. If you own either Uncharted 4 or The Lost Legacy, you only have to own one, not both. You get a upgrade offer for $10. Now in my case, I own both. I own Uncharted 4 via physical disc and The Lost Legacy via digital. So I chose to use The Lost Legacy to upgrade because I wanted the digital upgrade, so that way I don't even need my copy of Uncharted 4 anymore. And, I still get the multiplayer with the PS4 version of Lost Legacy if I ever want to play that. But that's been a problem with Sony, is they want to now charge for these upgrades. And there's no reason to it. I mean, it's not like there's new content. It's not like they went through and did a giant overhaul of the graphics. There's no ray tracing or anything like that. It's just basically they just took the settings and just bumped them up. And it's nice, I'm not complaining, but is it really worth charging people $10? It just feels very anti-consumer, especially when Sony wasn't doing that before. We know that later on next month, when they release Horizon Forbidden West, Sony has said that's the last game that will receive a free upgrade path. After that, all the Sony games, they'll charge you $10. Now, in the case of something like the Death Stranding Director's Cut upgrade, which they charge $10, that made sense because you're getting a whole bunch of new content. And so I didn't have an issue with that. But this, it's just petty, in my opinion. A lot of people have said, and I feel the same way too, that when you, like if you have a PC, and then later on you upgrade your PC specs, or you buy a new one, build a new one, whatever it is, you can then change the settings of the game and run your game at higher settings, which, very nice. They don't charge you for that. Steam doesn't charge you for that. Good Old Games or Epic Game Store, they're not going to charge you. So it makes no sense to me why they would do that. It's just clearly a money grab. And it sucks. I am not a fan of it. And unfortunately, though, that's going to be the path forward. So if you are buying Horizon Forbidden West next month on PS4 Pro, that'll be or PS4 Pro, whatever PS4 you have. That'll be the last game in which you get the free upgrade. I mean, I will give it to them. They're not charging the full $50 to upgrade games. That's what Remedy and 505 Games did with Control Ultimate Edition. Made everyone pay for the game the second time, which was BS, but that's a different story. But I still paid the $10, one for the channel, and two because I do like Uncharted, and playing it at 60 is really nice. The fluidity you get is just, it feels fantastic. I haven't had a chance personally to try out the 4K 30 mode, but I'll probably get to it at some point. The performance mode just feels so good, and it looks so sharp and nice. So yeah, I would still recommend it. If you don't have the game, or if you never played it and you have a PlayStation 5, I would recommend going out and trying to find a used copy of Uncharted 4 or The Lost Legacy. You could probably get it for $10 or less. That way, you could get the upgrade for $10 as opposed to paying $50. Again, that's my recommendation. Try to find a used copy of the game, because unfortunately, when Sony announced the whole upgrade path, they very conveniently took down to purchase the games digitally, because you could originally purchase Uncharted 4 or The Lost Legacy separately for $20 on PlayStation 4, and you can't do that anymore. Now you have to buy them both at $40. And clearly they didn't want people to try to get a hold of this cheaper. So yeah, try to go out and get yourself a physical copy.
Just remember, I didn't want to do this.
You know, save yourself some money. Unless, of course, you want the physical box copy of the game. PlayStation, the PlayStation 5 box.
Nice try.
So yeah, all in all, this is Legacy of Thieves collection. Really good. Still a fantastic game, just not a fan of the business practices. I mean, at the end of the day, it's $10. It's petty. That's just one less trip to Taco Bell for me. But
you know how many artifacts I've collected over the years?
I'd still recommend it. Just it's so much fun to play these games and revisit them again, and just, you know, especially at 60 FPS or 120. Haven't had a chance to try that either, but I'm certain it'll be great.
I'm still a little jet lagged.
So yeah. Apologize, I'm just watching the footage here. This is all pre-recorded, but
have you had enough? Or do you want to keep being a
so yeah, anyways, before I get distracted any further, check it out. I've included a link to the Digital Foundry video if you want a more in-depth technical analysis of the games. And I will see you next week. Until then.
Where is it?
Right there.